Hollywood Balls on a third round FA Cup day, the magic of the cup and all of that. Let's run through it all here. Looking forward to this one. From late team selections to how to decorate your opponent's stadium. Welcome to Hollywood Balls. As always, with me is footballing royalty, a man who's seen his fair share of cup action, and he knows a thing or two about hitting the back of the net. Have a look at this.
Wicklow's clearance drops for Dixon. Now Alan Smith. Campbell. That's the inspiration we've been looking for, and Kevin Campbell has provided it.
Lee Dixon here. Campbell now. Yes, that's two.
That's Campbell. Davis, a bit of hesitation from Ipswich, and Kevin Campbell. And the substitute scores. And Arsenal are surely through now.
Surely through now, Kev. Happy memories and Happy New Year.
Happy memories, Happy New Year to you and everybody joining us, Pete. Great times, mate. Absolute great times when I think back.
Absolutely brilliant. Hey, listen, as I say, before we get into it, I've picked out some standout cup ties today. Of course, the usual suspects that everyone's been looking forward to this weekend. But I mean, yourself, you know, being a part of winning it all, the FA Cup, it's special, isn't it? A special time, especially third round day.
No, Pete, it really is special. A lot of people in the UK who support maybe the bigger teams, a little bit of the shine has been taken off of it because everybody wants Champions League and all this. But let me tell you something. Traditionally, the FA Cup is the one. It really is the one. Still gets so much attention globally, and it's still such a prestigious trophy to win.
Absolutely. You've got many memories of it yourself, Kev. I mean, being involved, and I mean, you look at it, and today's the day, isn't it, where it's those cold winter days in the UK, which lead to those sunny days while walking out at the Twin Towers at Wembley, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Pete. I mean, two of my worst experiences in football happened in the FA Cup, let me tell you. One was Wrexham, losing to Wrexham 2-1. And one was losing the semi-final to Spurs, local rivals.
Yeah.
But then you a couple of years later, we pay them back at Wembley. You beat Spurs. It all happened in 1 year. We beat them. And that was the year we played Sheffield Wednesday in both the League Cup and the FA Cup. We went to a replay of the FA Cup. So we had 3 goals with 2 cups. We played them 3 times, Pete. And we win in the last minute, Andy Linnigan, of the replay at Wembley. So I got my fill of FA Cup finals, mate.
David Huggins with us from down under. Dave, Happy New Year to you as well, mate. Great to have you along. Probably still reading all the past FA Cup with us. It's his favourite day as well. I know he loves the FA Cup, does Dave. Big game, which we're going to get into now. You just go back to that Wrexham. I mean, crikey, that was... You talk about Hereford and Newcastle, but it's now known as Mickey Thomas Day, that wasn't it?
Yeah, Mickey Thomas, a great guy as well, Mickey Thomas. But I'll tell you what, I could have strangled him. Listen, he put the mockers on us like Graham the Jinx. He's trying to put on you guys today, right? Pete, let me tell you something. Everything went wrong after that. After the game, we got on the coach. We weren't allowed any video or radio on or nothing. The coach broke down. The Arsenal fans were giving us plenty out the windows. You could imagine. Yeah, you're waiting for another coach, and you just think, "Get me home, for God's sake." But you know, as a pro, you have to take these things sometimes. It hurts, but you have to take it.
Got to say hi to Graham the Jinx. I know he's on a bus because Kev, we were just talking about it though. Just for people who are watching, obviously safety is of paramount importance, and it was great to hear Michael Beale and Eddie Howe both say that we know how high the stakes are. We know it's the first time in 7 years that Newcastle and Sunderland face each other, but just to play it sensibly, lads, and enjoy the day, support your team.
Enjoy
but
the
Kev,
occasion.
What a palaver getting there for Newcastle fans in this bubble that we're talking about. So because of the Northeastern away, there's so many Newcastle fans and Sunderland fans that that live in each other's areas, so they've got to get into the bubble and out of the bubble. Graham the Jinx was leaving. He's more in the Newcastle end, so there's Sunderland fans leaving from the Newcastle side and vice versa. So he was leaving this morning in a minibus to get into the bubble, to get into Sunderland. Oh, what a palaver. But it brings us nicely into it. What a game.
Pete, listen, when this one come out the hat, mate, I was actually buzzing for you and everybody concerned, because you really don't get to play each other.
No,
do you? You don't really get to play each other. So FA Cup, big FA Cup tie, and the thing is, it's away from St James's Park as well, which kind of tilts the odds more in the favour of Sunderland. Have a bigger chance now because they're at home. If it was at Newcastle, I'd say Newcastle would win probably 90%. I give them a decent chance at home because all you need is one crazy goal to go in, or one decision from a referee, and Newcastle on the back foot. I expect Newcastle to win, but I think it's going to be a difficult game, Pete.
Davey Gallagher's with us. Davey, very, very good morning to you. One of my oldest friends from Wickham. Great guy. He'll be going through his pre-match rituals as well. No doubt they'll involve a couple of cans. So all the best to you, Davey. Happy New Year to you and yours. Kev, we're saying it's 7 years since that. The other thing as well that you've got to look at is the Sunderland have got a pretty decent record, 9 unbeaten in the last 9 against Newcastle. It's not just going to be white hot. I mean, that atmosphere there can be absolutely incredible at the Stadium of Light. It's going to be. And you've got players there that haven't experienced this before. You'll be looking at the likes of the Geordies, won't you? Your Dan Burns, your Longstaffs, to try and let Bruno and Joe Linton know. But then, Kev, my question to you is, how do you keep a lid on the likes of Bruno and Joe Linton? Because they'll just go wild in the first couple of minutes.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Pete. I think the way Eddie has the team playing, and the physicality and the front-footedness of the team, I think Joe Linton and Bruno know exactly what to expect. Every week it's a competitive game in the Premier League. This one it's a lot more personal, isn't it? And I'm sure they know some Sunderland fans, in the periphery of what they're doing, who are going to be trying to probably give them a little bit of stick. So I think they've already bought into the Geordie side of things anyway, Pete. So I don't think you'll have any worries about these guys adapting. But I tell you what, there might be some of them Sunderland players. Oh, they know what it's about. But the key is, can they match Newcastle's quality? That's going to be the big test for me, Pete.
It's a good one. I have to say, I've watched both pressers. Eddie Howe was his normal self, gave nothing away. I like listening to him, but I was very impressed with Michael Beale yesterday. I watched his press conference, and he basically gave confidence very cleverly, Kev, by saying, "Good young team. We're excited. This is the games. This is what you want to be playing in." And he was very, I thought he gave a very, very decent press conference. So he will know behind the scenes how to pick them up. And that first 10 minutes is going to be key. I am going to put you on the spot, though, Kev. Give us a score.
Pete, I'm going to go 3-2 Newcastle. I think there's going to be goals.
With that today.
Yeah, I think there's going to be goals. Hey, yeah, your heart's going to be beating at your chest. But I think Newcastle are just going to get over the line.
Good, we'll take that one. Listen, a couple of the other games that have stood out to me as well. Obviously, the big game is later this weekend, which we'll save for last. Your beloved Gunners, but one of the ties that I loved is Millwall-Leicester, an incredible third round tie. These two teams they've met each other 45 times in all competitions and 5 times in the FA Cup. With the visitors having the upper hand. And of course, I picked it because one of your old teams going really well, Leicester City, aren't they?
Pete, they're going really well, but nobody's really talking about them, are they? Nobody's really saying that, Leicester are doing great, but they're just under the radar. They've put together this team that's dropped out of the Premier League, and they're a winning machine at the moment, Pete. Obviously, it's going to be very difficult down at Millwall, but I expect Leicester to beat Millwall. I do. I do expect Leicester to have a little bit too much firepower. But if Leicester slip, Millwall will take them down today, because Millwall do like a cup run. They love
a cup run, and also they just met recently in the last month. Leicester registered a 3-2 win, but I think they were rather fortunate that day. It was a comeback win. But interestingly, their first competitive meeting date ever was the 1934 FA Cup. Isn't it funny how that was the first time that these two sides met, and Leicester won that one 6-3. But Millwall are unbeaten in their last 4 home games in all competitions, so they'll be looking forward to it. But Leicester, as you said, your old team, Kev, going well. They won 3 of their last 4 away.
I think they'll shade it.
Prediction?
I've got 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester, excellent.
Yeah, I've got 2-1 Leicester.
Another cracking game, and it sort of is. You keep thinking this side, Chelsea. Have they arrived? Are they finally looking like a team? And then you think, yeah, they're just starting to put something together. Then they have a poor result again. Chelsea play Preston, potential third round banana skin for Pochettino, who still to me doesn't look like his team. Kev, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Pete. There's too many inconsistencies in Chelsea's game. One week it's the old saying, Pete, isn't it? You don't know what you're going to get week to week. 1 minute Chelsea look great, the next week Chelsea look awful, and then they can look, a bit of good and a bit of bad from week to week. So I think Pochettino is obviously going to try. He's talking about he needs new players, Pete. They've spent $1 billion. I mean, it's incredible. He needs new players.
How many are his, Kev? How many are his?
Pete, I don't know. Obviously not enough, Pete. Obviously not enough. He's spent enough money. But look, I do think Chelsea win this game. And I think Chelsea win this game quite comfortably. But just like the Millwall game, if Chelsea are messing around, this Preston team, they're not bad, They can give the Chelsea a game. So I put 2-0 Chelsea, Pete, for this one.
Okay. Davey Gallagher's just sent me a picture of his breakfast, and I can confirm it's in a glass bottle with a brown ale liquid form. Good man, that man. Okay, he's saying no Pochettino, Kev, just to come back to it. He's saying it's a really important. He's making all the right noises. It's a really important competition for his side because they've got to try and qualify for Europe. True. It's important because he's got nothing else. They don't look like they're going to be challenging up at the top end, do they?
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't. In the Premier League, they're struggling to find consistency and form. So if you have to do it in the cup, Pete, that's what you got to do. And let's be honest, if you're a Premier League club like Chelsea and you get Preston at home, this should be perfect for you.
Good cup side as well in the past. Chelsea 2018 they last won it. They love a day out at Wembley as well. I watched Preston last weekend at Sunderland. They had a bit. They were unlucky actually. I thought they played well against the Mackhams. They looked all right going forward. But like you say, you would imagine, wouldn't you? you'd
Chelsea
expect
will undo them.
Chelsea.
Will undo them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not a bad side,
So
Pete. They're not a bad side.
yeah, looking forward to seeing to following that one. The other one I picked out, fascinating. Again, it's in the northeast, Kev. Two teams with again another cup pedigree, cup tradition. Borough, Middlesbrough against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, wow, going so well, aren't they?
They are, Pete. And you know what? I think this one has more potential to be a banana skin. I really do. Borough, I think Borough are a really decent side. Struggled early on, but they're finding their feet, coming back with some wins. And I think this is a real tough game for Villa. And Villa's going to have to bring their A game to win. They're going to have to.
They'll need goals, Kev, won't they? Which to be fair, Ollie Watkins is 17 goal contributions in 20 league starts this season is outstanding. But having said just to pick up on what you've said, there's a guy gone under the radar at Borough, Emmanuel Latte Lath. He's managed 5 in his last 10 for the Borough. So and again, big home game, good cup tie. I'm sure Villa will have a few supporters there. Should be a cracker.
It should be a cracker. Just reminds me of the old Premier League days back in the day. You know, when Borough were a Premier League club hosting a lot of the clubs. I think this is going to be a real tough game for Villa. I expect Villa to turn up, Pete, but I really do think this could go to a replay. I really do. I've got it as a 2-2, Pete.
Desmond.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Listen, Brazilian midfielder. I wanted to touch on this guy. Do you think he'll be possible target for the top clubs? Douglas Luiz. His name gets mentioned in high praise, doesn't it?
Well, he's been linked with Arsenal probably the last 3 windows, Pete. Mikel Arteta's worked with him before at Manchester City because he was a City player, wasn't he? Douglas Luiz.
Yeah.
He makes a difference in their midfield, Pete. He does. He's a good player. But whether the way they're going now, Pete, would you want to get rid of anybody from your team? I don't.
No.
I don't think you want to upset the apple cart there. So, yeah, I can't see Unai Emery doing any business with Douglas Luiz, especially the way they're going.
He's managed, just for the stats fans amongst you, he's managed 9 goal contributions in 19 league starts for the Villa this season. Okay, listen, another of your old clubs that I wanted to bring up because before we get into their game today, a special mention for their new gaffer. It's not Forest, the good old tricky trees, but I wanted to give a special mention, and deservedly so, for the special start that Nuno's made. Yeah,
he's had a very good start. Pete, you know, he's an experienced manager, Pete, in the Premier League. And when you look at all the players and the squad that Forest have, for an experienced manager like him, he's probably licking his lips, isn't he? You know, he doesn't really need to do too much in the transfer market when you've got all this talent there that you can move and maneuver into a team and try and get results. Obviously, the result which was bad for you, but it's in James's Park. I mean, Chris Wood never moved like that in all the time he was at Newcastle, and he goes and bags a hat trick. Yeah, exactly. You know, he bags a hat trick, and then obviously the Forest v Man United game, which I think was the really important one as well, especially after Man United pegs them back to 1-1. It was who wanted it more, and it looked like Forest wanted it more, Pete. And, you know, as fans, Pete, that's what you want your team to do. You want your team to want it more than the opposition. Forest wanted it more, and they ended up winning the game 2-1. So I think it's a really, really good start for Nuno. Got the bounce that the new manager sometimes brings. But when it's FA Cup weekend, home tie, that's all you could ask for sometimes. And I expect Forest to do pretty well today. I do.
Me too. Listen, Buddha boys with us. Good to have you. It's good to see you as well. It's been a while. Listen, it's exactly, Kev, the magic of the cup. 365 days from locking horns in the third round of last season's FA Cup. Forest and Blackpool It could, I think, it'd probably be a different story today. But don't forget, Blackpool won that one 4-1. It was one of the shocks of the FA Cup. Just going back to what you said, though, take nothing away from Forest at Newcastle. Absolutely wiped the floor with Newcastle. Deserved it. It could have been more. Should have been more. They were walking through the midfield. Gibbs White had an absolutely superlative match. He was outstanding, as did the former Man United winger who literally, he tortured his old club as well, didn't he? So Forest off to a great start. And I do have to say, I thought Nuno was extremely unlucky in Saudi, in the SPL. His team were going well. Obviously, he had a falling out with Benzema, who was their major signing. So it was Benzema or the manager. So good luck to Nuno. I think he'll do well at Forest.
Yeah, I think he'll do well. And I think he'll do well today again. I think he will right the wrong of last season, Pete. And Forest will get a win. I've got 2-0 down here.
Look.
But you know what? Blackpool, sometimes these little Blackpool, they can produce something special. So I don't expect it today, but it could happen.
They're bidding to reach the 4th round of the Cup, just so you know, for back-to-back seasons for the first time since 1971. But amid their sort of stellar streak of home form, they've lost all 3 games on the road in December. So there's a bit of a yin and yang there for them. Kev, one of the skating, I did want to give it a special mention, was I watched the boys from Wigan yesterday in their press conference.
Yes.
And Sean Maloney, can you remember?
Sean Maloney.
Great player.
Yep.
Gave a great press conference. They've got a big game this weekend in the Cup. And I like the way that they approached their press conference yesterday. Said anything could happen. It's the magic of the Cup. You're playing one of obviously the greatest sides of all time, but he knows what it is to be a winner. So I wanted to give Wigan a special mention and wish them luck. Really looking forward to seeing that. And as I say, very impressed. Very impressed with Sean Maloney.
All the best. And let's be honest, if they take that scalp,
imagine
the repercussions of that is going to be incredible.
I don't think he'll fancy that much. I mean, it's not far off a local derby, is it?
Well, you might as well call it a derby. But if Wigan take their scalp, Pete, it could be
our friend could be at the job centre.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. It could be messy.
Not Lionel. Listen, okay, there's undoubtedly the game of the weekend if you're outside of the northeast bubble. And even if you are, you've got to be right about it. Arsenal versus Liverpool. What a tie for the 3rd round. Possibly should be on in later in the competition, but it's what we have. Kev, I know you hate all this. I do as well, with stats and what have you. You just as a good old-fashioned player, you just want to get out there and get on the pitch. But the Opta supercomputer makes Arsenal favourites, predicting that they win this clash 46.3% of the time. Interested?
Well, listen.
Is that home advantage?
Well, I would say, it's a bit of home advantage. The fact of the matter is, was it 3 weeks ago now? Arsenal played Liverpool at Anfield in a game that was a really good game. Both teams had opportunities to win it, and probably Liverpool would think to themselves, we should have won it because we're at home, and they had probably had the best chance with Trent Alexander-Arnold to stuck it over the bar. But Arsenal haven't been great, Pete. Arsenal's form of late has been 3 losses and a draw. But this is the type of game that gets the juices flowing. That could get you back on the horse. That could get you back moving in the right direction. And Liverpool coming to London, we all know that, they do travel. But it's all about the Gunners, I think. I think the Gunners have to turn up, the Gunners have to show up, and the Gunners have to take the game to Liverpool. They can beat Liverpool. They've proven they could beat Liverpool at the Emirates. But I tell you what, Liverpool have got one guy who's got a hell of a record at the Emirates, that's Jota. And
right.
when he could obviously when he can play, because I think he will play now that obviously Salah's gone to the African Cup of Nations. He tends to have a really good record at the Emirates, so that's definitely one of Liverpool's top probably 4 players who Arsenal need to keep a real keen eye on him, Pete, because he's dangerous.
Kev, is it just to get a sort of an insight and a feel of a cup game from someone who's played at the top level? Is it a different setup chat from the gaffer before like a league game? Because it's a one-off, really, isn't it? I mean, you're not going to draw, are you? So I mean, is the setup different? Will Arsenal look just to think, right, let's go all guns blazing at them because we need to see this off. We don't want another match.
Yeah, I think it's Pete. I think the way Mikel Arteta and most managers really look at it is this is a knockout. You know, in the league where you play, you kind of know each other so well that there's if you don't win, there's a point on show. In this one, you've got to win. You've got to win to get through. So I think there's going to be more onus on attack and shutting down the transition of Liverpool, because if you don't shut the transition down, Liverpool are one of them teams who could just before you blink, you could be 2-0 down just on the transition alone. So I think Mikel Arteta is going to really concentrate on getting his attack right, which has been spluttering in the last 2-3 weeks, and making sure that midfield on the transition do not allow Liverpool to break on Arsenal and hurt them.
Do Arsenal need a Kevin Campbell? Do they need a goal scorer, Kev? Because I look at Eddie Nketiah, who I like greatly, but I see him coming off the bench a lot. I look at Gabriel Jesus. I don't think he's an out-and-out goal scorer. I see him very similar to Isak at Newcastle, a very clever player who's involved in the final third. Do they need someone to put to knock the ball in the back of the net? Is that what's missing?
Pete, they do. And do you know what? I would change the narrative, Pete, to even say Arsenal need more firepower. Whether that's a number 9, whether that's a number 10, whether that's a winger, they need firepower. You look at Liverpool, that's what Liverpool have got. Liverpool, as a number 9, Darwin Núñez isn't the number 9 who they expected him to be right now. But they chip in with goals from Diaz and Salah and Gakpo, Jota. They've got firepower, Pete. And firepower is what's going to take you far, as you well know. When you've got firepower, it doesn't matter. The other team could score 2. You score 3 or 4. Arsenal don't have that luxury. Last season, players stepped up. When they don't hit those heights, Arsenal are feeling it. And they definitely need firepower. Whether it's a number 9, Pete, who takes the onus on himself to make sure he hits his numbers, or whether it's a combination of other players that help, I think Arsenal need more firepower.
Balancing that out, Liverpool, obviously, of course, they're going to miss Salah, going to miss Slobodja as well, because he's injured. Does that give a big onus to Liverpool or to Arsenal? Or do you think that, there's still so many different areas of the pitch where they could hurt you? But I mean, missing Salah is a big fill-up for the Gunners.
Yeah, Salah and Slobodja, who are starters in this Liverpool team. I think Slobodja, he's adapted to the Premier League very well. I think this is, gearing everything to an Arsenal win. Not just saying that, but I just think when you're missing your real starters, and Arsenal should fancy themselves at home. But as you well know, Pete, the key is you got to get the job done on the day. So I know that game's tomorrow. It's going to be a big game. But Liverpool coming to there, Liverpool won't shy away. They'll play their game, and Arsenal have to open them up, Pete.
Both your man Klopp and the Gunners gaffer as well. They'll want to get it done, won't they?
No replays, please.
They'll want is no replays. Because you guys have got a league game coming up as well.
Yeah, no replays, please, and all that kind of stuff. Add enough games. Get the game won on the day, Arsenal. And if it goes against you, fair enough, it goes against you. But leave everything out there on the pitch, Pete. That's all you could ask a lot of the time. Definitely don't need another game. Don't need a replay.
Liverpool have only been eliminated from the FA Cup at this stage in one of the last 12 seasons, where they lost 2-1 at Wolves. Arsenal's 3-2 home win against Liverpool in the Premier League last season is their only victory in their last 11 meetings with the Reds, and that's in all competitions, Kev, as you said. In the FA Cup, though, but in the FA Cup, it's the Gunners who usually come out on top. There's been 17 meetings down the years, and Arsenal have lost just 5 of those inside 90 minutes. So it all looks good. I'm going for a famous Arsenal 2-1 win. What do you got, Kev?
Yeah, I've got 2-1. That's what I've got, Pete. I've got 2-1 to the Arsenal.
Okay, listen, it is FA Cup weekend, but whilst we're here, it's good to grab you. Just a quick look at the Premier League before we disappear and get all of our cup excitement ready. It's the closest run thing for a long time, isn't it? Currently, the Premier League. When you have a look at it, City faltering, Arsenal just haven't. They were top Christmas Day. They're not now, and you got Villa up there pushing Liverpool at top. It's quite exciting as a Premier League race.
Pete, I think it's an absolute fantastic mix of the unknown. Who would have said Arsenal for 3 weeks ago? Well, not even 3 weeks ago. Christmas Day, top Christmas Day, and now we're on the, what is it, the 5th of Jan, and Arsenal was sat in 4th. You wouldn't have believed it. Manchester City obviously went and played the Club World Cup. They won that. Now they've come back. They're hitting the ground running a bit. Aston Villa, the surprise package, doing so well under Unai Emery, doing fantastic. And Liverpool, seeing Liverpool do as well as they're doing with obviously a new midfield, etc. Jurgen Klopp's rejuvenated that football club, and obviously you got underneath that you got your Spurses and you got your Brightons and you got all sorts who are looking to join, And there's no talk of Manchester United, who are in that next group. Chelsea are down there, Pete. So there are still clubs who probably will have designs on trying to get into the top 4 and having a really good run in the second half of the season. But Pete, we're only halfway. It's brilliant, isn't it? Loads of football to play. And by the way, your Newcastle suffered loads of injuries. But you're still within touching distance, Pete, really.
But we've got that main thing to that spectre that is always over our shoulder, Kev. It's the unbeaten run that Manchester City go on for 421 games in the second half of the season.
I know. It's Pete, they're just that good, and they know the course and distance, don't they? They know how to do it because they've won it. What is it? 3 times in a row. They're trying to be the first team to do it 4 in a row. Listen, we've got to make sure they don't do it. All of us have to make sure they don't do it. But it's going to be a hell of a second half of the season.
It is, but today all eyes are focused on Wembley and, of course, the northeast of England. It's off to the Stadium of Light first for the first game. So all I've got to say is, how are the lads?